Before we're going to proceed for the session, here Dr. B. Jacob has sent his video presentation.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here to make a presentation on mechanization cashew processing industry with particular reference to food safety and food quality. I'm thankful to Mr. Srivatsava, CEO of Cashew Foco, and his excellent team for inviting me to make this presentation. Mechanization of cashew process, balancing quality and food safety expectations. Mechanization, a boon or bane. Before the advent of mechanization, cashew processing was confined to a few geographical regions where skilled manpower was available. Kollam and Bangalore, perhaps Padute, were the traditional centers of cashew processing due to availability of skilled manpower. The advent of mechanization brought in dramatic changes. Cashew processing spread beyond the borders of traditional regions. It spread to many non-traditional regions. Vietnam is the trendsetter in mechanized processing of cashew. Raw cashew producing countries in Africa also followed the trend. India slowly switched over to semi-mechanized and fully mechanized processing. Mechanized processing, what are the advantages? Skill of workers not relevant. Volume of production could be increased manifold. Processing plants could be located anywhere. Unit cost of production considerably reduced. Larger production volume with a less number of labor force. Now let's look at the issues and problems in mechanized processing. Contamination from CNSL during shelling. CNSL contamination of carbon is a serious issue and buyers have strong concern about it. Now let's look at the remedy in action. Shelling machines to be meticulously maintained. Cutting blades monitored at frequent intervals to ensure that shell oil does not contaminate the cut. Innovative design to ensure shelling with perfection, avoiding spillage of CNSL on carbon. Wear and tear of metal parts of machines. Metal particles may get into the product, contaminating it. Monitoring conditions of cutting blades, peeling blades at the start of work and at the end of each batch of production. Checking for breakage of blades at frequent intervals and replacing broken blades. Metal injector to be installed at the filling station and the efficiency of metal injector to be continuously monitored. Presence of partially peeled and unpeeled kernel. Processors often complain about the presence of partially peeled and unpeeled kernel which have to be manually peeled. Accumulation of husk dust in peeling machine leading to insect infestation. Remedy in action. Improvement of efficiency and effectiveness of the peeling machine. Innovative designs of peeling machines required. Husk dust to be removed from every batch of production and machine and surrounding areas scrupulously cleaned. Contamination from lubricants and oil. This is a matter of serious concern of the domestic as well as for part. Even when food grade lubricants are used, dripping of lubricants into the product is highly objectionable. Cleaning and lubricating machines has to be done with meticulous care. SOP, standard operating procedure, has been displayed at critical points to alert the workers and operators. Training of workers at required frequency and evaluating the efficiency of training. Breakage of carbon. Compared to manual processing, more breakage in mechanized processing. New designs of mechanized plant have considerably reduced percentage of broken kernel. But there is still scope for further improvement. Vulnerable areas for insect hideout and breeding. In a mechanized plant, there are areas in and around machines not easily accessible for cleaning. Dead space of the machinery often ignored when cleaned. Such areas become the focal points of insect breeding. Schedule of cleaning to be followed meticulously. Monitoring of efficiency of cleaning to be done regularly. Monitoring the presence of insects in vulnerable areas to be done following laying down schedule. Chemical contaminants. Lubricants are essential for smooth and efficient running a machine. Food grade lubricants are mandatorily required by the food safety regulation. Tendency to use low quality food grade lubricant creates hazards. Lubricants used may have to comply with the kosher and halal requirement depending upon the country of export. Dust problem. Mechanized processing generates dust much more than manual processing. Dust will settle on product as well as machine. Critically important to control dust generation through appropriate machines. Contamination from packaging material. Buyers of international markets concerned about the presence of aromatic hydrocarbon in foods if they are carcinogenic. Food packaging material, food containers, and food contact surfaces may act as sources of migration of aromatic hydrocarbon. Ensure packaging material, containers, and food contact surfaces are food grade and no migration of aromatic carbon takes place. Preventive action, monitoring of MOS and MOH. MOSH, mineral oil saturated hydrocarbon, MOH, mineral oil aromatic hydrocarbon. It's reported that MOSH and MOH have chances of entering the food chain and migrating to food. There are several pathways which may include jute bag or cardboard plastic. Another pathway is fossil fuel. It's unlikely that the cashew processing operators, MOSH and MOH, get access to cashew kernel. Monitoring for the presence of MOSH and MOH to be done as required by EU regulation. It's felt that a person can declare and certify that a product is in compliance with the EU guidelines for MOSH and MOH. Monitoring for phthalates. Phthalates are found in plastic food storage containers, detergent, nail polish, etc. When plastic containers, conveyor belts, etc. gets heated, phthalates are generated. Hence, containers conveyed to be protected from getting heated. Microbiological hazards, preventive action, environment monitoring. Processing plant to be categorized as high risk zone and low risk zone. Environmental monitoring for pathogens to be done at required frequency. High risk zone, zone 1, zone 2, low risk, zone 3, zone 4. Now, zone 1, direct food product, less conveyor belts, grading table, filling table, aspirator, metal detector, primary packaging materials, seals, workers' camp, cranes, bins folding cover, cranes and the subject. Zone 2, non-product contact surface, exterior of processing, equipment control panel. Zone 3, non-product contact surface, hand car, houses, walls, floors, drain, trucks, transporting material. Zone 4, areas outside the product processing zone, workers' restroom, apron, footwear, cafeteria, entry and exit passages, loading bay, finished product storage area. In the event of positive results, corrective action, preventive action to be carried out. Need for innovation in mechanized processing. Mechanized processing is gaining wider acceptance by the process. There is need for innovation and more efficient design of machines to avoid problems outlined in the discussion. Use of artificial intelligence robotics will be waiting in the wing with the cashew processing industry. Thank you.
That was Dr. B. Jacob, Managing Director, Quality Systems. They offer consulting services for plants, cashew processing plants especially. That sets the background in terms of what are the issues connected with mechanization and how to go about taking remedial actions as well. So that sets the backdrop for this discussion. Now I invite Mr. Chetan Shah to make his initial remarks.
Hello everyone, I am Chetan from Adinath Cashew, Gujarat, and I would like to thank Cashew Info, Mr. Srivatsava, and my association. Due to my association support, we are here. The subject is impossible by balancing the mechanization, quality and food safety expectation. Innovation and the technology are driving force behind the sustainable development of any industry, right? And we all know that the labor problem on each and every state nowadays. So we have to go for the mechanization. And mechanization has helped to reduce the cost of the production, enable the faster production capability and reliable product quality achieved. There are ways to maintain the quality and hygiene standard with the mechanization. Food safety and the quality. Food safety and the quality regulation are always been important. There are bodies, authorities and certificates that work hard to make the hard-working cashew business get rewarded and the work benefit through the cashew production that is safe with the good quality. For example, there are bodies like FSSC, BRC, HACCP. We are immensely proud of our certificate because of they serve the proof of our cashew. There are highly quality and made mindfully protective the environment and consumer. With the piece of, we hope that we have educated our importance of the certificate not only for the business but to the workers in the business and the final consumer also. GMP. Till the date, one of the major issue in the cashew processing is that hygiene. It is the essential to keep the process factory in good hygiene condition. Food safety and hygiene in the workplace is more important with the implementation of the FSMA and SEDAC standards. Okay, even the FSSI emphasizes that the good food hygiene is essential to ensure that the food prepared sold by the business is safe. They are important to both safeguard the consumer health as well as the reputation of the food business. What solution for that? Cashew shell is a versatile product. We all know that in the shell there are very acidic product, right? To prevent the spillage in the shelling area, we can make as a floor to use the epoxy or PU flooring like that. Use the maximum automation and handling of the product at each stages of the processing. Once the kernel comes out from the shell, then it should be taken care properly. By doing so, peeling to the packing area should be the clean. Also, it should be the closed with the some partition or the closed room with the dust-free system. You can implement the 0.5 micron HAVEC system and special epoxy or PU flooring in that area to make them more hygiene. If one is able to manage and convince the world about the one's effort towards the food safety and hygiene maintained totally, then one can win the heart of the buyer. We would respect and understand what we are doing and what we are feeding to the world. Thank you.
May I now invite Mr. C.R. Selvaman to give his initial remark.
Good morning to everybody. I am Selvamani from Tamil Nadu Cashew Association. In the mechanization, we are facing many problems from the shelling, from peeling and all the aspects. First, in the shelling, the ghost marking and all comes in the today's machinery processing. The backside of the kernels, markings and all come. So these has to be, the machinery manufacturer has to look into this aspect. They have to develop the technology to reduce that ghost markings backside. So these kind of kernels create bad impacts in the buyer side. So here many manufacturers are comes. So I request to those manufacturers to improve those small problem facing buyers. CNSL oil contamination going to the kernels, that also making the color change in the kernels and increase the bad impression from the buyers. And the second thing, in the peeling aspect, while we peeling, it was peeling inside the container. So the dust particle also going inside the kernels, it making some contamination. So it, in 1 or 2 months, it get infestation. So these kind of activities, the machinery manufacturer has to look into it. Today, many manufacturers coming, but still we are lacking in the perfect processing system of the shelling and peeling machineries. So these are one of the challenge in my places in where our Panruti regions using machineries. Second aspect in the peeling, the moisturized content during the cooling process also, that changes the color. So we need some more sophisticated machineries to improve those coloring system. But that was my point that I want to discuss with the machinery manufacturers. Thank you all.
Start this question answer session or more of a discussion session. I want to understand from all the buyers here, what are the kinds of problems you face? So when Mr. Selvamani has mentioned certain problems, so I just wanted to prompt some of these problems. If you are facing that problem, if you are a buyer, please raise your hand so that you will know, one is that he mentioned about ghost marking. Is that a major problem for you as a buyer, and do you face that? I want the buyers in the room to please show if this is a problem, please raise your hand. So I don't see many hands raising. I think no buyers are present in this room. Is infestation an issue? And has the infestation increased post mechanization?
Infestation has not increased post mechanization, but the packaging, problem of packaging is main cause of infestation.
Okay.
those who are using less weight tins and not flushing the CO2 and nitrogen, that is the main cause. As the humid temperature everybody can feel in Delhi, the shelf life goes only for 5 to 7 days for cashew if the tin is cracked or leaked from somewhere. So this is very major issue we are facing while selling the cashew, because buyer loses the trust and especially the stockist.
We want to address this question of packaging issues.
Yes, that point is correct. Using the lower weight tins, it lead to the contamination by air content going inside. So that is correct. We have to use more than 900 grams tins. So it will reduce the air transition inside the container.
So is it the problem only with the tin packing, or is it the same with pouch packing?
Not only with the tin packing, it have already some small particle which has present inside at the time of packing lead to the infestation. So we have to more cleaning system before the packaging.
That's a very good point, Achin, which you raised, and you think that is a major problem Delhi faces,
All the destination places.
all the destination places. Okay. Color deterioration is one aspect which Mr. Salvamani has mentioned.
Sir, actually it's because tin prices raised from 80 rupees to 130, 140. So everyone is planning to cut the cost. So time has come now to we think of less packaging rate, cashew kernel plus packaging. That is the time has come now. So buyers cooperate. It is the right time.
We can go for the vacuum bag, na? So with the buyer support, we can go for the vacuum bag.
Whatever is the packing, we can give it. But plus, that's all. Plus packing. Got it?
We are talking about contamination. We are
We are selling
about
W320 for example 700 rupees. Then plus packing. You dictate me whatever the packing, plastic or tin of 1 kg net weight. I can give you 0.30 mm thickness of tin sheet or Tata tin plate or which tin plate you can dictate me. We can provide you. But thing is money. Now we are giving a complimentary as packing, free of cost from our pocket. We are losing crores of rupees in our turnover. You got it? So that the manufacturer will go for cheaper 0.20, 0.22, 0.23 thickness tin plates. Avoid and no soldering. Tin ingots today's rate for 4,000 rupees per kg. From 2,500 to 4,000 rupees per kg. So all the cost increased. Okay. Now you can have a resolution from June 1st or August 15th. All the manufacturers of cashew kernels will sell cashew kernels plus packing. Okay? What is wrong is that? Have a resolution.
Achin, you want to respond to that?
Because nice option.
From a perspective of a manufacturer, it looks to be fair. Price the product and
Because the tin cost has really increased, it is a nice option. At least we are not wasting 900 rupees or 800 rupees kilo cashew because of only 100 grams of tin. So it is very nice option that buyer should be given that it is a plus packing rate.
That's a very good suggestion and problem solved.
Thank you for cashew.com.
Is it the end of infestation problem? I pose the question once again. Because we talked about infestation.
No, it's not just for a joke or time pass. It should be implemented. It should be. Achinji,
Yes, sir.
you should start.
Yes, sir.
Delhi Cashew Association. I think you are one of the member in that. You propose this proposal and get it to be done. Okay.
Sure, that point is well taken, but I wanted to raise infestation issue. Is it only a packing issue or is it little more than that?
No, not only packing issue. It comes from the processing stage itself. Processing, peeling.
So one aspect he identified as packaging, and there is some kind of a consensus on what is the way of
They are
resolving
telling
it.
about the cost. We cannot be able to add a separate costing for packing. So our products includes packaging.
Here is a counter argument. You have a processor who says that when you cannot separate the
So we
price.
can't able to ask the buyer, give me cost for a tin cartons and everything. We are selling a product, it contains all the things.
You have a view on that?
All the machineries, everything we will pay. Plus
My
packing.
opinion,
No,
my opinion, that's all.
plus packing and forwarding. Plus. In this cashew only, I don't know how, it is complementary tins. It should be, the time has come now. It should be changed. Otherwise, you will get 600 grams tins in future.
His point is correct. His point is correct, but nowadays in the business we can't able to follow this.
Chetan, you have...
We have to go for the vacuum pack only. That's the only option for that future.
Means you are saying get away with tins.
Vacuum
How
packing-
many of you are for this option? We should stop using tins.
All processor have to be go with like that.
No, the percentage of the leakage is very high at the time of transport.
And accordingly the pricing can be decided.
In our factory, all packages
Sukesh bhai,
items
repeat
are ready.
Sir,
Flexi is ready, tins are ready, everything.
I 100% agree with you, sir. What I'm saying is, different customers or different traders, dealers have different kind of, requirement to shelf the material. Somebody requirement will they rotate the material in 7 days, so they don't need expensive packing material. They want to rotate the material in 7 days, so we can offer them that kind of shelf life packaging material. And somebody wants to stock and sell for 3 months maybe, we can offer them that kind of packaging material, strong tins, and that price will be, of course, will be a good product.
We are selling for X rate, for X quality of cashew kernels. So for example, 2 piece JH or 4 piece JK, whatever may be the case, we are selling it. But what happens, in those days, the packing material, the tins को 10 रुपया, 15 रुपया, 20 रुपया था. Then it was happened. Now, 130, as my ex-president said, 130 to 140 rupees per tin cost. Then everybody will compromise, no? So slowly, bypass method. So 0.20 to 0.25 tins have income.
Sir, what is the value of the product which you put inside the tin?
See, that is we know. That is not a question.
Just because you talked about cost, so that is what Mr.
No,
Selvamani was telling.
if you pay plus packing, you will get everything. You can want gold tins, we can ready to give you.
So one of the points that I wanted to raise here, infestation is not a problem just because of the packing. We are importing nuts, along with that we are importing infestation. Now it is mandatory while exporting in the African countries for fumigation, and we do get all the certificates and everything. Unfortunately, I do not want to get into the depth of this, but we know what kind of infestation, what kind of fumigation really happens in those ports before discharge. While in our country, plant quarantine once again inspects the cargo and again advises for fumigation. Once again, this fumigation is not really attended to. So I think these are critical points where you carry this infestation to your warehousing first, and cross-contamination brings it to a processing facility, and there the processing in many of the units today, instead of 5 days, 4 days or 6 days, they go even up to 10 days, 12 days in open condition where the infestation sets in. So it is necessary for us to first eliminate it from the source itself, and we knowing here that we are having a lot of people who are exporting to India, we should sit together and see how we can make the fumigation process more effective.
So any other source of infestation? We have identified 2 causes, packaging and then as Mr. Kalbavi says, we are talking about the RCN stage itself not carrying out fumigation. I just want to understand, do we fumigate Indian origin nuts? When we buy, do we fumigate?
Sun-dried very well. We sun-dried very well, and we feel any infestation in the process of carrying fresh nuts which is packed into the bag, and therefore we do not see any great infestation in the Indian origin. But it is the imported origin which is taking its time. It is not completely, it's humid condition. In those closed container conditions, it really grows also. So the problem really, we are bringing in infestation in our imports, that is for sure.
No, but if at the loading point, if the moisture is 9%, I think somewhere the drying has happened there also, right?
It certainly has happened, but the bags may be carrying, I do not know. But what is sure is, there is a 30 days to 45 days transit time from Africa to India where the fumigation can work wonders if it is properly, effectively conducted. This is not being done because 90% of the fumigation, 90% of the infestation comes in the bags. It comes into your warehouse, it generates there and cross-contaminates to your processing sheds.
So that's a very valid point for all the RCN suppliers to India. Please make a note of it, and maybe during lunchtime or post lunchtime we can have a constructive discussion on this, how we can make fumigation as a standard operating procedure or a process while we send the cargo into India. Any other source of infestation, Chetan?
At the time of processing, maybe kernel moisture level is more than 4% or 5%. It can be the infestation in near time.
Next thing is, after processing, the goods is ready for packing, you should not make a delay 1 or 2 days. So that lead to infestation in the grains.
I fully agree with Sir's point. The infestation happens in RCN origin itself. This year at RBS cutting, we noticed that there was a small needle-sized point there in RCN itself. From that, the lava is going inside and keep it hatching. On the time of RCN loading, this will not properly identified. When it reaching almost 30-40 days, it will hatch it. By that time, if it is the fumigation was good, this can be avoided. Earlier, this problem was happened in Tanzania origin. From this year, some other origin also have this problem. In RBS, they are killing a void condition for this cargo, for this nuts.
Any other points on the infestation which...
Hi. So there are a couple of things which I want to put up. One thing is that when we say that the RCM which is coming from imported is infested because of fumigation not happening properly. But my question is, I am not very well versed with, because I am a buyer of the kernels, I am not a processor. My question is, when we process the cashews in India and it is subjected to very high heat in the Burma, is it possible that the lava or the contamination which has happened still stays in the cashew itself? You want to answer that?
No, that is correct. After the heating of 75 degrees for more than 8 hours before peeling, 1.5 hours after peeling.
The point is that the Burma in cashew processing happens twice, which I understand. One at the time of post cutting, and then there is a Burma which is happening pre-packing. So 2 times of excess heat which goes into the cashew, does that not kill the insect or the larva or the the source of contamination? And before packing, it is subject to it's getting out. And second, the concern, what I understand is that at the time of packaging the material within the tin, when we are packing it in a nice good tin, forget the costing part of it right now, because the entire industry, no one is working on a cost plus model. So everything which comes in is, so as Sir said, that the tin cost today or the vacuum pack cost which is there in the material today is complementary, it's not being charged. So as a buyer, I don't understand this part of the point, because when I'm buying the material, packing has to be given with me. It has to be packed and given to me. It cannot be given as a free flow material to me. I am not charging my customer saying that I have packed it, so pouch ka charge mo, you have to pay for the cardboard in which I am packing, you have to pay it separately. A customer will not understand that. The cost is inbuilt, which I understand. Nothing is free of cost. And second thing is, at the time of packaging, many a times what we have identified as a food technologist who works for us, that the material when packed is warm in condition, and it is packed and it is packed in the tin. Because of and during the transit or during when the material is in movement, the condensation which happens leads to, and the moisture which it releases, because of that contamination is happening in the cashews when the cashew kernel is being given to the buyer. That's my point.
Color deterioration is a serious issue.
the color deterioration is serious, but more serious is infestation.
And as Piyushji said that nothing is free of cost, that is also true. But my point is, stockist and trader plays a vital role in the chain of cashew sales. And their confidence has been lost due to this infestation problem. They don't want to stock cashew, maybe for Diwali or for some season, because they know that the strength of cashew is only for 1 or 2 months. Let it be plus cost model or any model, but we should stop using the lesser weight tins. That was my point.
Right, so as we go towards the end of this session, one thing is very clear: mechanization is the way to go for several advantages. It has got with its own several challenges. As you have pointed out, some of these challenges we have to work closely with the machinery manufacturers, especially around shelling. You still feel you mentioned about dust getting in during the peeling stage. Can you please explain that part?
No, actually the peeling is done in the closed container. Okay. So the dust and the cashews are rotating more than 20 seconds, 30 seconds inside the container. Some of the contamination going inside the holes, so it stay there, so it leads to the contamination.
You are a buyer as well, Chetan, of kernels. What are the issues you face as a buyer?
We use to buy NWL like that, so we process in our factory. So.
Okay, so you have a better control.
Yes, better control.
There are a lot of very good points for reflection. Improvements needed in cutting and shelling from the machinery manufacturers. Fumigation is a requirement for RCN suppliers into India. And there is a way to look at packaging cost. In normal times, it could have been inbuilt into the price of the material. But in these uncertain times where the pricing is when the tin prices are shooting through the roof, it would be better to have a pricing model which varies with the price of tin, or which is as Mr. Satish Bhai said, cost of material plus packaging, where depending on the customer requirement, you can have the choice of packaging material. I would let both the speakers to have a concluding remark, starting with Mr. Chetan. Your final observation on the way forward. How do we enhance our competitiveness, because mechanization is the way to go, and how do we meet and balance this requirement of food safety concerns and mechanization?
Nowadays, each and every state is finding problem for the laborers, so we have to go for the mechanization. This is the only option we have for the mass production, and for that we have to go for the mechanization. With the mechanization, we have to control some food safety controls, we already mentioned that the problems we are facing with the mechanization, so we have to go for the solution for that with the machinery maker.
Sir, your final comments.
Yeah, as I already told, only the missionary people has to collaborate with us, and they have to find their problems, our problems, to improve little mechanization process. That will lead to a good output of the cashew kernels. That's my sense.
That's very nice way to put it. There is so much room and scope for collaboration. I still want to ask one question out of curiosity. Has mechanization reduced your cost of production?
No, it's not reduced the cost of production.
Okay. For you?
Yeah, of course.
It has reduced.
Yes.
What is the consensus in this room? Has the cost of production or processing, whether you put it in per ton or per bag, post mechanization, has it come down? I want processors to raise your hands if you say it has come down. My processing cost has come down after adopting mechanization. Those who say yes, can you please raise your hands? Right? Sure. So there's a lot of people who are listening to this question. They have said yes, it is reduced. So it's good note that mechanization has been able to bring in some cost advantages. Hope some of these issues which were raised here would get resolved. On this note, I conclude this session and I thank both the speakers for their contribution. Thank you so much.